Welcome to Chabad Inspiration. L'chaim. As we exit the month of Tishrei, of holidays, of celebrations, into the day-to-day grind of the upcoming new year filled with opportunities, may we all be successful to maximize our potential and see all of the blessings which we've prayed for throughout the month materialize in a revealed way. And as the Rebbe says, Ploi Sarenu, I will show you wonders. L'chaim. The Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, discusses how is it that a Jew can be successful during the 6 days of the week. What's the secret? And he describes that in order to be successful during the 6 days of the week, which are the world of action, you have to first start on a higher level. Trace the actions to their original source. Our actions are the results of our emotions. We want to do it. Why do you have emotions that want it? Because your intelligence understands it. So as a result of your intelligence understanding it, now your heart is excited about it, and now you go ahead and do it. But go back a step. And why does your intelligence understand? So why do you even care to think about these ideas? Because these ideas come from a level of keser deza, meaning the crown of emotions. What are the two words crown of emotions? Keser deza. Keser, God's crown in metaphoric terms in Kabbalah, references to the point of godliness where there is a sense of pleasure and a sense of ratzain, will, I want something. God says, so to speak, I have a pleasure in building a world, creating a new world with mankind, inhabiting the world, making the world a place for godly presence. And therefore, since God has a pleasure of it, he has a ratzain, a will for it. And once there is a will for it, then it comes down into the world of intellectual planning. And from there, it comes down into the world of emotional passion, feeling it in your heart, so to speak, and then actually being done in the world of action. But if you want your actions to be correct, you have to make sure they are correct at the highest of levels where it begins. And that is in the world of pleasures. Is that really what you enjoy doing? Is that really meaningful? And in the world of ratzain, of the keser, is that really what you want? When you make sure that your pleasures are correct, and your wanting is a good one and a healthy one and an inspiring one, then it's going to trickle down when it comes to the world of action. You're going to do it successfully. So these concepts of being successful, as the Tzemach Tzedek explains, has to do with tracing it to the roots of where it all comes from. After the month of Tishrei, we make the announcement, Vyakov Holach Ledarkoi. Meaning, literally translated, Vyakov, Jacob, Holach went, Ledarkoi, on his way. These are words that reference our great-grandfather, the founding father of the Jewish people of the 12 tribes of Israel, Yaakov Avinu, our father Jacob, who had his 12 sons and thereby established the Jewish nation and the 12 tribes. And eventually he had to leave his parents' home because his brother Esav wanted to kill him. And as we all know the rest of the story, from there he went and he had the 12 tribes of Israel, with Rachel and Leah, and so on. And from there, the Jewish nation was born. But where does Yaakov come from? Where did all this come from? This came from the fact that our father Jacob was given the power of the name Yaakov. What is Yaakov in Hebrew? Yaakov means a heel. So why would you name somebody a heel? Because Yaakov, when he was born, he had a twin brother, Esav and Russia. And Esav was born first, as twins. Esav came out first. So Esav is older by a few moments. But Yaakov, as Esav was leaving the womb, Yaakov grabbed hold of his heel and he held on to it. And therefore, they named him Yaakov, because you're one who grabs onto the heel of your brother. The other Yechezes Ba'kev Esav. Says the Rebbe symbolically, that is empowering us. It's not just a question of history of Yaakov, that once upon a time he grabbed his brother's heel. But when you're leaving the comforts of the Jewish environment of a shul and so on, and you want to go out into the worldly events and be successful at it, then you have to remember, take the strength from our father Jacob, from Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov was not afraid to be a pious Jew, and at the same time he knew how to engage his brother Esav Arasha, who's wicked, meaning to say he's wicked also in the sense that he's dishonest, he doesn't function in business with any honesty, his word isn't a word, he commits all inappropriate actions, and so on and so forth. So therefore we say Yaakov is the one that shows us You can go out into the world. You can engage the Esav of the world. You can even grab a hold of his heel and show that you are in control and you're not allowing the wickedness of the world to take control of your life, but the reverse, you're taking control of the world and you're living Jewish values in whatever you find yourself doing. But then we say, Vyakov, not only is that an inspiration, but the next word is Holach. Because the Jew comes along and says, God, listen, it's true. As a Jew, I know that I also have to be not only a Israel wrestling with angels in the synagogue in the prayers, focused on my prayers, so I'm wrestling with spiritual problems, but now I also have to wrestle with the physical problems. But I'm afraid if I go out into the physical world, I may fail, I may fall, I may make mistakes, and in all likelihood I will. The proof is that in every machzor we have already pre-printed the al-chait. So every Jew comes to shul and we clap al-chait, we say on Yom Kippur, I've sinned, I made mistakes. Why is it printed for next year? You haven't yet done any mistakes yet. Obviously, we assume that by the time the year is over, the human being is not perfect and mistakes will be made. So if that's the case, why are you encouraging the Jew to go out into the outside world? Maybe he's better off staying in seclusion. Says God, Holach. Jacob went. What is the word Holach? The root of the word? The root of the word Holach is halicha, walking. What's so special about walking? Well, it's very special. Because the prophet tells us in Tanakh that the power of the human being is V'nasati lecha mahalchim me'na'im dema'ela. I will make you somebody who walks amongst those who remain standing, who stagnate, meaning the angels of heaven. The angels of heaven are created like a computer program. Whatever they were programmed to do or pre-programmed to do, that's how they will function for the entirety of their existence. However, a soul, and when a Jewish boy and girl come down into this world, by walking in the path of God, then not only do they not stagnate and continue to live successfully, but not only that, in addition to the angel existing with holiness, the Jew actually grows from level to level, higher and higher. In other words, when you go and you utilize the journey of life and you do it in a way that Hashem himself approves of it, that the Torah approves of it, then not only do the challenges not hurt you, even though you may eventually, you're only human, so you may make some mistakes, but on the contrary, the challenges will serve as springboards to propel you to greater heights. So God says, yes, I know in advance, if I send you out into the outside world, you probably will make some mistakes. However, God says, remember, by staying in the shul, you're like an angel. You're going to remain stagnant. I don't want stagnation. I want growth. And growth requires the courage to go out to the outside world, engage it, and behave to the best of your ability, even if you made a mistake. Stand up, dust off, and continue walking and marching, representing who you are. Says the Jew, if that's the case, that's probably true for Jews who their mission in life is associated with very meaningful things. But not everybody's associated with being, for example, a teacher that's teaching Jewish children the Aleph Beis or whatever it may be. Not everybody's work involves holy artifacts. So many people's work, the majority of people, are in day-to-day business activities. Then the question becomes, so you're telling me that just going to ordinary business has a value, has a virtue, has some holiness to it? The third word is Ledarkoi, to his path, to his journey. Meaning to say, God says in the beginning, I didn't create you to walk the other person's path. I didn't create you to travel the other person's journey. I knew in advance what your journey was going to be, and that's exactly what I created you for. So if you walk your path and your journey, which Hashem created us for, and we travel our journey with success in accordance to Hashem's will, then Hashem says, for this, I am happy that I created you, because you are living up to the expectation and to the dreams, the aspirations that I had when I created you to be a soul coming down from heaven into this world. Just a day or two ago, I was reading something, and I came across an anecdote which a young student wrote to the Rebbe a letter. He was not studying in a Lubavitch yeshiva, Chabad yeshiva at the time, and he felt that his intelligence capacity is not one of the greatest students. He's an average student. And as such, he never felt he would become one of the top students. He will not become a giant of a Torah scholar. And he said, since that's the aspiration by everybody here, so he felt, what's my point of staying in yeshiva if in any case I'm not going to live up to the dreams of becoming the greatest scholar in my school? He had a Lubavitch friend who was with him, and he said to him, Lubavitcher said to him, why don't you write to the Rebbe a letter and tell him what's bothering you, and let's see what the Rebbe answers you. He writes the Rebbe a letter, and the Rebbe answers just a few short lines. But the Rebbe answers, the mistake is that you're assuming you have to make it to the top by measuring yourself how others are doing. But the Gemara, the Talmud teaches us in Kiddushin, the reason why God created the human being is Ani nivresi l'shamesh eskaini. I was created to serve my Creator. In the other version of the Talmud, it reads actually in the negative, Ani lo nivresi ela l'shamesh eskaini. I would have not been created if not for the fact that I was exclusively created only for the purpose of serving God, my Creator. In other words, the Rebbe's point is, as long as you're doing what you could do, not somebody else's journey, as long as you are doing your journey, then you should know that you're living and serving God to the maximum for the purpose for which you were created. And as such, you are on the top, meaning to say you're on the top of your journey. That's all you have to be. You don't have to be somebody else's success, somebody else's journey. So in that sense, when God says to us, Vyakov, Holach Ledarkoi, Jews, remember to be like your great-grandfather Yaakov Avinu, who remembered, go into your path, whatever that path may be. But Ledarkoi, in your individualized path. And it's only precisely when we live up to our expectation, not somebody else's expectation. So if I switch journeys and I become somebody else, then I failed at my mission, even if I do well being the other person. But I wasn't meant to impersonate the other person. I'm supposed to be me, and you're supposed to be you. And therefore, Vyakov, Holach Ledarkoi, the secret of our successes, when we are encouraged by our father Yaakov to go out into the world and bring with us the holiness and the sweetness and the happiness and the celebration of the whole month of Tishrei, of all of the dancing, of all of the celebrations and so on, and bring that holiness into the physical, mundane world, preparing the world for Mashiach, transforming the world into a better, kinder, and a gentler place, then God says that exactly was the purpose of this mission. The Rebbe says, interestingly, that all of Tishrei really extends itself till the 7th day of Tishrei, of Cheshvan, of the second month. The first month of Tishrei is virtually all holidays. We begin asking for rain on Shmini Atzeres in the davening. Or in Israel, it's Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, because they have one day of both of them together. But they hold off from the ordinary day-to-day asking for the rain until the 7th day of Cheshvan. Why is that? Because there were travelers that used to come from all over Israel and outside of Israel to pay respects for the 3 holidays of Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuos for pilgrimage, and they would come to Yerushalayim, to the holy city of Jerusalem, and then they have to travel back. So if you're going to start praying now while they're traveling back home, that's not fair. They're going to get wet in the travels. So we say, wait till the 7th day of Cheshvan. So all the travelers of Tishrei that we're here for Simchas Torah can make their way back home safely. If that's the case, the first real day that is no longer directly connected and influenced by Simchas Torah is the 7th day of Cheshvan. Says the Rebbe, so until then, you have a chance to relaunch yourself for a new year. If we haven't gotten it yet, we still have the opportunity till the 7th day of Cheshvan, so to speak, to pull ourselves together and take this message of Vyakov, Holach Ledarkoi to Jewish success in whatever we're doing, that we should see it in a happy and successful way. So l'chaim. May God grant us that we should be able to take all of these inspirations and all of these prayers and davenings that we had throughout an entire month and bring them into this physical world where we will merit to see a world that is healed of all of its illnesses and of all of its challenges. And each of us will be able to maximize our fullest potential to whatever God gave each and every single one of us in an individual manner, not by checking over your shoulder what somebody else is doing, but rather by us looking at ourselves in the mirror and asking a simple question, am I living up to what I have the talent and potential to be? As long as we're doing that, we're doing well. So l'chaim, travel safe, travel on your journey, and remember to get together to travel to the journey of seeing the coming of Mashiach. We want Mashiach now. Thank you very much for joining. L'chaim.